Today in the physics lab, you might notice that even though this is marked as a virtual lab, there really isn't a simulation that can duplicate what we have in the lab. So for the virtual lab today, we're going to kind of have to wing it. As you can see on the screen, I've brought up the lab on electric field lines, and this lab typically involves taking a sheet of conductive paper and drawing some shapes and then plotting out the electric field lines, arrows pointing from higher potential to lower potential. But like I said, there is no real virtual counterpart for it. So the best we can do is just kind of go with what we have or what students have done in the past. So basically what I want you to do for this lab is, for each lab, as you can see on the screen here, I've taken a picture of old student work and I've placed it into the lab itself. So what I want you to do is look at the picture and analyze it. So let me explain what's happening here. So for this particular picture, you see there are two sets of dots, okay, and they were given power at different times. So like the two dots on the left would be like the first part of the lab, and the two dots on the right would be the second part of the lab. And as you can see here, there's a lot of lines, and we're going to focus on the arrows on this. You'll notice there's some other lines in there that say like 2 volts, 5 volts. Ignore those. That's for the second part of the lab that it talks about earlier. We'll get to that part, in another lab. But what we're going to focus on is just the arrows. So here you could see, like, we have arrows going from the higher potential, or like this dot started at 6 volts and this one started at 0. And the same thing over here. This dot started at 6 and this dot was 0. Good. Okay. So what I want you to do is, just do the analysis questions based on this as if this was your lab. What did you draw? And then compare and contrast your shapes. It says with two other groups, well, again, you're not really going to be able to do that, but just kind of compare this set to this set and just kind of look at how they're similar and how they're different. Like I said, you're focusing on these arrows, right? And so remember, the arrows are going to point from, in the direction a charged particle would be pushed. Well, positively charged particle would be pushed. So if you put a proton here, it would be pushed along these field lines. So just kind of compare and contrast that. Give me, a couple of sentences, a couple of reasons why these two things are similar, and a couple of reasons why these two things are different. And that'll be it for your lab.